Hey folks, Tim Muldoon back for day 17 of Ignatian mindfulness, and the theme for today is our gifts. All right, so what I'm going to be suggesting in this reflection is that we take this very odd time to review the kinds of gifts that we have as people, as human beings. And I'll just start with the observation that, many of us are scattered. Many of us are still figuring out even just, how to spend our days, our weeks. A lot of us had found time. I was reading something just yesterday. It was from a psychologist who was observing that one of the problems that we face now that we're several weeks into this whole experience of quarantine is that we've burned through the normal, obvious sources of rejuvenation. Maybe it's a show that we've wanted to watch. Maybe it's a movie. Maybe it's a book or two that we've really wanted to get to. Maybe we've even started to explore a couple of activities that we don't generally get to. But here's the thing, those can be good for a week, 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks even. But by the time we're hitting like 6 and 7 weeks, which is, where we are at this point, and some of us even longer, those immediate sources of satisfaction maybe are not quite doing it the way that they used to, all right? So some of us are feeling that being in a place of not exactly knowing where to spend our time, the things that normally we find life-giving, maybe not so much. So here is a suggestion that it's still possible to lean into our gifts. Now, here's where this comes from. In Ignatian spirituality, one of the primary meditations and really focuses for prayer in the spiritual exercises of St. Ignatius is a deep sense of the way that we have been gifted, okay? And the language is very theological. God has given us gifts that we can use to make a good difference in the world. And I think that that's right, okay? But again, even if you're not coming at this from the perspective of faith, I think it's certainly possible to do a little bit of review and just simply ask, well, what are my gifts? What are the things that I'm able to do? What are the things that give me pleasure? What am I good at? And to lean into those things. Now, let me use a very concrete example of how in this period of maybe lack, we can call it, we lack many things. It may still be a time of discovering gifts in new ways. So I'll use an example from my own past. It was many years ago when I was living abroad, and this was back in the days before there were cell phones. I'm really dating myself here, but and even writing letters was very expensive. I had no money, so what did I do? I had to just start by just writing letters that I could just simply put some time and energy and effort into, because I didn't have time to call my loved one, and I simply didn't have the money. So in this experience of lack, what I discovered was, there's something very therapeutic about writing letters. Now, by the way, not a bad thing for any of us to do right now, to write letters. I think most of the people that I know have totally fallen out of that practice. And in fact, I have too. But now I'm starting to ask myself, well, maybe that's something I should return to lean into that, because I know that it was a gift, that I was able to write some very heartfelt letters. And in fact, that really sustained a relationship and built a relationship. And now she's my wife. But anyway, the point is that it was an experience of lack that allowed me to develop that gift of letter writing that ultimately proved to be very fruitful. So maybe there are similar things. Maybe it's not letter writing, maybe it is, but maybe it's something as simple as picking up a musical instrument that I haven't touched in a long time. Maybe it is crocheting. Maybe it is origami. Maybe it is making those wonderful stained glass windows that kids do with tape and window crayons. Whatever it is, really lean into it. And here's the other kind of hint that I borrow from psychologists, that there is something very good about craft. The word craft, the idea that we can make something that has a finished product that we can take some pride in. It's good for our minds. And I would even add, for those of us that are coming at this from the perspective of prayer, it's good for our souls to dedicate that work to God and simply to say that, in this careful perhaps slower work than what I am used to, I can still make it an experience of prayer. And minimally, for anyone, I can make it an experience of simply slowing down and rediscovering those gifts that I have in my life. So a couple of ideas for you to maybe take into your next day, or maybe into the weekend, or whatever. I hope that is helpful for you. And again, I thank you for listening, and I will look forward to seeing you again next time.